So in 1986, straight out of college, I took a job at Freeze and Freeze in Cincinnati. It's now known as Givaudan, which is, I believe, the number one flavor company in the world. And when I started there, I didn't have any experience. So I started out as a technician working in the laboratory of George Long. And he's a flavor chemist, and he helps develop flavors made out of all these ingredients that they source from all over the world. And it's sort of like being a chef, in which they take these ingredients and build flavors, sort of like a chef would build, for instance, spaghetti sauce by using oregano and thyme and all of those kinds of things. These flavor chemists would build flavors using ingredients that they source from around the world. Extracts, juices, essences, all kinds of things, mostly natural. And so I started in his lab, and he said, when I give you these formulations, I want you to actually smell all these ingredients one at a time and remember them. And then you'll watch how I put them together into flavors, and over time you'll be able to do the same thing. So that's exactly what happened, is he taught me how to put flavors together by using all these ingredients that we had in this laboratory. And we'd put these flavors together and send them to customers, but we never really knew what they were putting them into. So for example, if a customer was putting just say an apple flavor into a juice drink, they probably already had juices in there, so the apple flavor would just kind of supplement the apple flavor in that juice. But if they were putting that apple flavor in, for instance, vodka to make like an apple flavored vodka, it would be used completely different, because you'd have to add a lot of that flavor to overcome all the alcohol that was in there. If you put that same apple flavor in a soft drink base, it would be used differently, because you'd have sugar and acid and all kinds of things in there to make it taste like an apple. So the thing is, we put together these flavors without knowing what they were going into, mostly, because most of the customers didn't tell us what the end product was. So I worked there for about 3.5 years, and eventually I was working on mostly alcohol products. So I was making flavors, using flavors, applying them to alcohol bases. And I worked on a product called California Cooler, which was purchased by Brown-Forman. And when Brown-Forman purchased them, they recruited me to move to Louisville, Kentucky. So they wanted an expert on site that had worked with these wine coolers. Because, unbeknownst to me, they wanted to develop coolers for Jack Daniels. So I went to Brown-Forman in 1989 to work on the Jack Daniels Country Cocktail line, which were successful, and we did develop those products. But what it gave me was, all of a sudden I was on the other end of that. So instead of building the flavors for a beverage, I was actually building the beverage and using the flavors as an ingredient. So that was just one of the ingredients. We had to use, the Jack Daniels, spirits, sugars, acids, colors, different things to build a finished product. So that it was a whole different experience, because the other thing that you have to think about when you're developing beverages like that is, what kind of package is it going to go in? Is it going to be clear? Will the sun come through? Is it going to be carbonated? What's the shelf life on these products? If you're going to put color in there, is the color going to last? There's all kinds of things you think about. What about manufacturing? Don't develop a product that's so difficult to manufacture that it can never be manufactured. So I was on the other end of that. And then I started Flavorman in 1992 to kind of put all of that together for either, mostly entrepreneurs or other companies that don't have like a product development team or an R&D team, because I had that experience all the way from, making the flavor to making the finished product, how you manufacture it, all the things you have to think about for quality control, just basically everything to make a beverage. If I had to say the difference between a flavor company and Flavorman, I would tell you that it boils down to one thing. Flavor companies and flavor houses, they sell flavors. Flavorman sells service. And what is that service? We develop beverages from start through finish. So we don't care just about the flavor. We care about the package that something's going in, where it's manufactured, who's manufacturing it, maybe with the equipment that they have on site. Because we don't want to develop a beverage where it can't be manufactured at a customer site. So for instance, we're not going to make a carbonated beverage for a company that doesn't have a carbonator. and we have to work all those things out. But we think about shelf life, the flavors, the flavors that the customer wants. Does it fit the profile of the clients that are going to try to sell this beverage to? There's just all kinds of things from start through finish. So, you're talking about first the formulation, the concept, whatever the concept is. We build the beverages, we manufacture it and bottle it, and then we do quality control after the fact. So once it's been done, we check it to make sure, and it becomes basically a loop where it's manufactured, we check it, everything's okay. You manufacture it again, we check it, it's okay. We actually help our clients control the quality of their beverages over time so things don't change, because oftentimes the customers don't manufacture the products anymore. They're using contract manufacturers, independents. So they don't even have control of that anymore. So we can provide a true start through finish service. And that's the difference between us and just a flavor company. So when we originally started Flavorman, basically you would come to us as a client and tell us what you wanted. And then we would develop that beverage back and forth until the formulation was right. And then we would hand over a formulation. And it was done. Our work was done. You had your formulation. You went and had it manufactured somewhere. I wouldn't even know what it was. You'd buy all these ingredients from somewhere. You would do quality control or not, and we were out. So it was a, literally one transaction. And then over time, in a very short time, those same clients would say, hey, can you help us develop specifications for the product that you developed? And then it was, hey, can you develop a production manual? Because we got to send this to manufacturers. They don't know how to mix it or what order to mix it in, or, what are the specifications. So we started doing that kind of work. And then they said, hey, listen, we would really like you to come to the production facility, because they oftentimes have questions while we're making it for the first time. They're not comfortable with it. So you could be on site to say, yeah, mix these two things together, or don't do that, or let it sit for a time. And, you could have kind of control over how the product was manufactured the first time to ensure that as they made it over time, that it would be made correctly. So we started doing on-site services. And then customers said, hey, could you do some shelf life studies for us? Because we do some of that, but it would be really nice if you could do it for us and help us out, because we could actually do it faster than they could, because we could make it in the laboratory and start a shelf life before it was even manufactured for the first time. And by the way, once it was made the first time, we could start another shelf life, and we could compare those to make sure that, something that we were doing in the laboratory was the same as what they're doing in manufacturing. And if that wasn't the case, we could make corrections over time to make sure that they were making it correctly in manufacturing. And by the way, I don't know if you're getting this, but the company's literally grown organically. These were all requests by customers. Can you do this? Have you done this? Do you know how to do this? And so over time, that's how we've grown. So we added the shelf life studies, and then they started saying, hey, could we send samples to you after they manufacture it to make sure that they made it correctly? And we're like, sure. And we would add people here. So, we went from a team of 2 to, team of 10 to 20 to, I believe we're up to about 70 now. After quality control services, we started making our own flavors. So we hired a flavor chemist, started a flavor laboratory. We now have trainees in that laboratory to make our own flavors that we can use and sell to clients. It's been very nice to have that in-house, because we can go faster on projects, because the kinds of flavors that people ask for now, or customers, often unique, and it would have taken us a long time to go to an outside vendor to get them to change their flavors so that we could get what we needed. Now it's almost automatic. Recently, as the last year or two, we started an analytical service team by hiring all the latest and greatest and very expensive, I might add, equipment for analytical services. So we use that in-house for our flavor development so that they can analyze things, so they can develop flavors. But we also have used it extensively with clients analyzing their products. And also in the beverage industry, we're analyzing barrels of bourbon, so we can tell them, hey, what's in your barrel, and how your product's aging over time. And that's been very useful to some of our clients. So all in all, we have a true start through finish service. not just start to finish, but through finish. So when the product is done, and you're manufacturing it, and it's everything's you think you're selling it, and it's successful. It's not done there because we're doing the quality control after the fact. And then most recently, we started selling flavors directly to clients. So up until this time, for the last 30 some years, we did only product development. So if some customer would have come to us, or potential customer would have come to us and said, we would like an orange flavor, an apple flavor, or whatever kind of a flavor, we wouldn't send that flavor out to them unless we did product development. But we found out that, especially with some of our clients that we already have, they just want a flavor. We've already done the base for them. They don't need any product development services. They don't need anything. They've already got a line of 2, 3, 5, 10 products. And now they just want a line extension. All they want is the flavor. So we decided, hey, we can do that. And so now direct flavor sales is an important part of our business. So I can't tell you the number of times I've given speeches or went to a conference where somebody didn't ask that question of, what's the most unique thing you've ever developed? And, you have to think about that, because we've developed every kind of fruit that you could think about, botanical flavors, savory flavors, blended flavors. It's like the sky's the limit. And we've developed every flavor you can imagine. But there's a few things that stick out when I think about, unique flavors we've developed years ago, and only certain folks of a certain age will remember the David Letterman show. But we developed a canned ham flavored soda for the David Letterman show. And it tastes like a canned ham. It was completely disgusting to drink something that tastes like something that you used to take out of a can and slice it up and eat it. We developed years ago a fish taco flavor for a soft drink. And it tasted like, a fish taco. You could taste the corn taco notes in it, and a flavor, also completely disgusting. And I'm as I'm answering this question, I guess the most unique flavors are the most disgusting, because the final thing I can think about is we developed a product for Andrew Zimmern for Bizarre Foods. And he used to talk about on his show all the time about the durian fruit, which is known as the stinkiest fruit and smell and flavor in the world. And so when he came to tape a show at Flavorman, we developed a durian fruit soft drink for him, which we tasted. And I just remember him going, oh my God, it tastes just like durian fruit, which was terrible. So we've developed them all. So, and, again, if you interview me in 10 more years, I'll have a whole new list of the worst flavors we've ever developed.